Jones. Here. Myers. Tate. Washington. Here.
Resolution of the Village of Sauk, Village of Monroe County, requesting Cook County Clerk's Office apply elevated loss and cost factor of 2015 tax levy. Any questions on that?
Yes, Mayor, I have a couple of questions on this resolution. First question, Exhibit A. Where is Exhibit A? It says that in accordance to Exhibit A, there's nothing in the packet that shows me Exhibit A. And while we're looking for that, the second question, is this in addition to the levy that we've already talked about? Because this levy speaks of a 7% loss factor. So are you asking for an additional 7% because of loss factor?
Conventionally, the Cook County assessors normally give loss and cost at least about 3%. Now we are asking about 7%. The reason being, we are always sure, even though we levied 100%, we are always used to get about 90 or 91% of the taxes that was collected and implemented to Village of Sauk. Therefore, I'm asking, in addition to 3%, instead of 3%, the county will levy for the loss and cost in the amount of 7%. That will approximately get the village approximately about 97% of the taxes.
Mohan, my question at the last meeting, we discussed the levy, and I think all in all was 2.3 mil that we were asking for this fiscal year coming. This, what you're asking for, is in addition to that, so how much more money are we talking about?
Approximately 7% multiplied by 2.31%. About $210,000 they're going to increase. The county will add on to 2.316 million, whatever we are asking for. For example,
Mohan, can you give me that figure one more time, please? The figure that you just gave us, can you give it to it one more time?
the levy what we are asking is 2.310,906.14. Normally, we don't get collected 100% of $2.310,906.14. It will be shortened by approximately about 10% of the levy. Therefore, we are asking, in addition to 2.310,906.14, they are going to levy more, but in actuality, they are not going to collect 100%. They are going to collect only about 90 or 91%. Therefore, the 7% will give us a cushion that we are going to get approximately about 97 to 98% of the tax levy what we are asking for.
And also in this resolution, it spoke of an Exhibit A. Where is Exhibit A?
They were sub-code because the ordinance came prior to Exhibit A. Are they in your box?
No, I did not receive an Exhibit A. It spoke on it. I thought it might have been the last levy, but this is a different. This is in addition to. I didn't get an Exhibit A. I don't know if any other trustee got an Exhibit A. I got 2 pages, but it was. I'm sorry, I got 3 pages, but there was no exhibit explaining. It says that the Exhibit A will explain, which is a summary. And also, Mohan, did we do this last year? Did we have it?
Last year we didn't do
When was the
7%.
last time this was
Last
done?
time it was 3%.
Okay, when was the last time we asked for a loss cost factor?
7%?
No, when was the last time the village applied for a loss cost factor?
That is automatic. Probably we might have asked about 20 or 25 years ago.
Okay, so this is the first time in 25 years that we're asking for a loss cost factor.
Right. Because always the collection portion will always be about 90 or 91%. Therefore, we were losing approximately about 9% of the taxes that was uncollected for, and it was never collected before.
And the reason why we didn't bring this up to the last meeting?
I didn't know the reason because the library board suggested that their board an increase of 7% in last cost. That's why we also decided that instead of losing 9-10%, at least we will be able to get, in addition to 90%, we'll be able to get at least about 97%.
So you're talking about an additional 200 and, I think you said 200,
Approximately.
$200,000. And
Right.
where on your sheet you had your disbursement
It
sheet?
does not include, because eventually that is included by the county clerk as last cost. We don't include it in our schedule.
So where does the money go? Is it divided between different departments, or where does it go?
It goes once again to all the departments wherever the line.
That's what I was, right, that's what I, is this what he's passing out now? This is,
Yes,
okay.
this is the schedule for all about 9 years, where we have the last column, it says approximately 327,901.25 may or may not be collected for current year. That is the tax levy for 2014 that is collected in 2015. We have given the schedule starting from 2006 until 2014.
Okay, so looking at this, you're saying that last year we collected
90%.
90%, which is $2,866,601.02.
Correct.
That's what was paid to us, correct?
As of November 30th, 2015.
So we'll,
We'll still be at 1 month away
right.
for December. But I don't get the schedule until after December 31st.
So we're short 200,000.
Yep, 327,901.
Okay. This is what we asked for last year. Now, this year, you're asking for an addition.
Correct.
Not for this. I'm talking about what we voted, what was talked about last week. We asked for an addition, $2.3 million. In other words, over and above what we got last year. We asked for an addition.
Right.
In other words, I'm sorry, I keep saying addition. We asked for a levy of $2.3 million. Okay, that included a 70.
Not
70
below 7%.
No, it included a $73,000 increase, right?
Yes.
Okay, $63,000 of that went to administration, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now we're asking over and above that another $200,000. Correct?
No, we are not asking. We are asking actually 2.310,906.4.
Right, that's what we asked
Tax
for.
levy.
Correct.
Yes,
This extension, what you're asking for, this loss,
yes.
constitutes an additional 200,000?
It will not be an addition. This levy, for example, this levy as it is going to go to county. The clerk will add on to 2.310,906.14 plus 7%. The collection rate will still be 2.310,906 or maybe less.
Okay, but you, okay, I'm just, because I pay taxes too, and mine's pretty high. And I was looking at how much more of a percent. If you're asking for 7% more of what we've been paying, I'm looking at paying 7% more of what the levy asked for last week. In other words, what we had the last week, you're asking for 7% more of, in other words, an additional 7%, because it's on here to be voted separately than what we had the levy to be voted. The levy is one thing we talked about last week.
Right.
Now we're tacking on another 7%. And that's why I asked you how much more would that be, because that has to be divided throughout the village, throughout the homeowners that are there in a proportional manner. It'll be proportionate of what they're paying. And that's what I'm asking, how much more are we looking for in, as far as revenue from this particular loss factor, loss cost factor? You were saying $200,000, which will be divided between the different homes.
Different line items.
Right, it'll be divided, but the total amount that we're asking for with this second levy is 7%, which constitutes at $200,000. That's all I'm asking, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
that's what I'm asking.
In essence, the Cook County, even though the Cook County levies the tax more than 2.310 million, in addition, about 7% more, in actuality, the collection rate will not exceed more than 97 or 98. In essence, we are going to get only 310 million, that's all.
Okay,
Even
because,
though there's an increase, we will not get more than what we are asking for.
and the reason why I'm asking is because this is the first time I've ever heard of this. Since I've been on the board, that's why I was asking when was the last time this was enacted. And usually when we go above the allotted amount that's acceptable to be levied, we have to have a reason. And this reason would be a loss factor, correct? Okay, that's why I was trying to find out why this is separate, because usually we levy for X amount every year, which is below the rate that the state is going to allow us to do it. Because like you said, that they're only going to give us so much. So what you're asking is for another 7%. And they may not give the whole 7%, but you're still asking for additional 7% added on to what it is that we're already levying for, which would be an extra $200 and some thousand divided by whatever. So that means that I'm gonna get a double. Well, I won't say double because it'll be all in the same levy, and the tax increase come April. But we're asking for the normal rate of 2% and then another 7% of that, which is $200,000. Okay.
Just so the board kind of look at clarification. Again, the second ordinance tonight is applying for the 7% to the county. Again, if you look at the exhibit that's provided, Sauk Village has never received 100% of the tax levy. We've been right around 90, 91, 92, 93%. So, again, putting out for this this lost cost factor, we apply to the county. Again, I don't know if it's guaranteed we'll get the 7%, just like it's not guaranteed we get the 100% levy. So, it's trying to make sure that, again, looking at every year, we've lost everywhere from 10 to probably 5 to 10% every year we've lost in the levies we have not received. So this is hopefully, we apply for this through the county, and whatever we receive would help the amount that we receive this next year.
And Mr. Mayor, and maybe Mohan, I don't know, maybe can answer this. This, what you gave us this time, is just showing me that what we got in the past. I'm asking, the last meeting, we had a breakdown of what we were going to use the increase for. And 200 and some thousand went towards, the largest increase went towards corporate. And I asked for that clarification, what did corporate mean? And corporate was basically our vendors and administration. I'm asking now, if we get this, what's the breakdown for this additional $200 and some thousand? This is not a breakdown, this just shows a history of what we've got in the past 8 years, 9 years. I'm looking at where we're going to apply that 200,000 when we get it. You did have a breakdown for the regular levy, of 2.3 mil. But even if it's $20, I still want to know where that $200,000 is going to go. Is it going to go back to administration? Is it going to go to police and fire pension? Is it going to go to, public works? Is it going to go? Where is that $200,000 that we're applying for a loss? Is it going to go to help do the streets, help do the sidewalk? I mean, where's the money? Because our CDBG money is not coming in. We've already found that out. So that's what I'm asking. Where is this money going to be allocated, and how is it going to be dealt with if we get this? Before I even think about voting on some money, I want to know where it's going to go.
All right, so Mohan, it's the same formula that's figured for the tax levy, correct?
Correct.
So the additional money would be broken down by the percentage by each of the line items in the tax levy.
There are 9 line items that go based on percentages.
And only a certain percentage can go to each line item, and that's spelled out. And exactly what you explained last week when it came to the tax levy. It's the same exact thing that goes toward this additional money, whatever we receive from the county. Up to 7% can be lower. Okay.
All due respect, Mayor, I understand you guys have that dialogue back and forth, but until I can see something in writing that money, because you did show me something last meeting, what you were going to use the 2.3 for. The $2.3 million increase, the levy that we were asking for. You did show me what you was going to use that money for. To just arbitrarily say, well, we're going to use it what we just did before is not something that's in writing, because I come back next month, 2 months from now, and state that we didn't use it for that, and the first thing I can say, well, or someone will tell me, well, we didn't say that unless I have it in front of me. Because 60-some thousand dollars that we did, that was the largest increase that we had of the levy that we talked about last week. And part of that, as I stated before, was for administrative costs. So you're saying the majority of this $200,000 is going to be towards administrative costs, which would be our vendors and our administrators?
Based on the formula, it will be allocated to different funds. Funds means a portion of it goes to general fund, a portion of it goes to fire as well as police pension funds.
I understand what you're saying.
I have the formula.
Okay, because I understand what you're saying. A portion of my check goes to pay my bills, a portion of my check goes for entertainment, a portion of my check. That's not showing me anything. That's not how you conduct business. If you're going to tell, you did do the right thing last time. All I'm asking this time is to have something in writing to know how much of this second levy is going to go where and in what departments and what we're going to use it for, because I do have questions about that, because I didn't think we put enough money in the infrastructure for this last levy that we're talking about, that we talked about last week. I didn't think we put enough money into infrastructure improvements in the village. And now, because we had our the ones that we increased with administrative costs. If this is going to go towards that, then let's say that. Let's put that in writing. Let's put it down instead of just saying, no, that's the way it's going to be.
Again,
we need to put something in writing. That's all, man.
We've pushed this a long ways. He doesn't have it for him tonight.
Okay.
The other thing too is just so the board realizes this is a resolution to apply for an additional 7%. So this is what we're asking the board to pass tonight, a resolution so we can move forward to the county and ask for this loss cost factor.
But
again,
Mayor,
this loss cost factor falls the same as under the tax levy, where there's a formula that's used that only a certain percentage can go into each line item, and that's the way it's broke down, just like it was for the tax levy.
But it's a resolution that we're voting on. If we vote to do this, then we're voting to raise the taxes 7%. Because we're applying for it. And then once you apply for it, if you get it, then you get it. Then that means they're going to tax the people. They're going to tax the people. We're applying. That's just like applying for a loan. You get the loan, but you're going to say, I don't want to let me go back and find out. Once we get that loan, once we get this money, we've got that money and the people will be assessed.
Trustee Burgess, there are 13 line items in the tax levy.
Yes, I know that.
Out of 13 line items, excluding police pension and fire pension, all other line items will be allocated based on the current levy.
Mohan, I have no problem with what you're saying. I have no problem. Please understand what I'm saying. All I'm asking All I'm asking is an accountability. All I'm asking is put something on paper, not read to me what we saw last week. I understand that. But if you're gonna raise X amount, if you're gonna raise $1 and have the people, the public, pay $1 more in taxes, they need to know where it's going in writing. Not that we're talking about going on something that we had last week.
I think there's a misunderstanding here, trustee. He's already provided the facts that Sauk Village has never received 100% of the tax levy. This still, this up to 7%, still will not give the village the full 100%. And the monies allocated are already part of the tax levy. So any additional money we get will be broke down according to the formula which the finance director must follow. And if we broke down, again, we still probably will not receive 100%. This is, I know we don't, because it's proven, you know, you've got the track record showing about 90, 91%, 92%. So, trustee Williams.
Just so I can make sure that I understand correctly, you said that there's a standard formula, correct? You have that standard formula?
Right.
Okay. So it is 5:25 right now. We're not going on this until our 7 o'clock meeting. Would it be possible to submit the standard formula? So I'm not asking you to give it right now. I'm just saying before we have to vote on this. So that way we've been provided the standard formula. We've discussed it. It's how it's run every year. But I don't think that it's unreasonable to submit it in writing that this is what we're going to do. But again, this is one of those things that we're going to vote for or we're not going to vote for. And if we need services for the village, one of the ways we get that is raising taxes. Nobody likes it, and that's what happened. I remember 6 years ago saying we should raise taxes before we had so many things happening, and I was the person that was, you know, I was the enemy because I said I wanted to raise taxes. But regardless, people are going to be coming in and out of the village. Our vendors are increasing in their prices. Things are happening. We need to pay for it. This is something we do every year. I understand the increase now, but if all Trustee Burgess is asking for is to see it in writing, if you could just provide it to us before the next meeting, then that would explain his questions, and I would assume there would be no further discussion.
Any other questions?
It is very simple and straightforward.
Just put it right.
Yeah,
Since
you could
you're
just
on
submit
this
it.
point, you can go get it.
Yeah, just submit the formula to us and say that this is how it's going to be utilized. Whatever we get, we know that we're not going to get the full 100%, but 16% of the money that we get is going to go for this. 18% is going to go for that. Whatever the formula is, if we could just have that by the time we vote, I would appreciate it.
All right, any other questions?
And the 3% and the 7% is going to apply to the same.
Yes, it applies to non-cap items. That means if there is any principal and interest on the bond, it will be 5% standard. Excluding those bond and interest costs, the other line items will capture 7%. Right, flag.
Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, you can go work on getting that ready for the trustees. Item number 3, review.
I'd like to know why there's no public comment on this agenda.
Use,
There's no public comment on this agenda. I'd like to know why.
we are in a little meeting.
I know that. I'm asking why there's no public comment in this meeting. You shouldn't have a public meeting unless you have a public comment session. You don't have one. Did you omit that,
Ms. Houston?
Ms. Mayor Hanks, why there isn't a public comment in this meeting?
You're interrupting this meeting we're currently having.
You're interrupting, and I'm asking a question.
Review of municipal buildings use and rental policies.
Mr. Mayor, I have something I want to pass out to each and every one of the trustees. You take one and pass it down. One for the mayor, one for the clerk, and one for the village administrator.
Do you want that?
No, the village administrator should have one too.
Yeah, there's like 5.
Okay,
Yeah.
you can hold on, I'll get them real later.
All right, let's look at, we'll look at that one last segment. Let's just get them out. We'll move to the community center. The Edward Basil Community Center. So, are there any changes? What is your view?
There were some minor changes that As I stated in the last board meeting, or last committee meeting on Tuesday, that, I was gonna review them and see if I felt that anything needed to be changed. And then you should have received this by email and as well as put in your box. And I just want to point out before we discuss it, just some of the changes that were made. Number one, there were just some grammatical errors, so that was changed. Looking at sections 4 and 5 and also 3. The only thing I added there was adding that a public relations, Parks and Recs committee member would do a walkthrough before and after, and that's something that I had talked about last Tuesday, that was a suggestion that I had, and that would kind of take care of the security deposit, the member or designee walkthrough beforehand, did a walkthrough with the person who's leasing it, and then stated that this was broken, this was not broken, and then afterwards, that the same person had that checklist, and they would be able to know whether or not anything had changed in the time that that was happening. So that would cover 3, 4, and 5, basically. Section 9, you'll see the part that is X'd out. And the reason why I had a question about section number 9, when all members of under the age of 18 are to have at least one adult supervisor for every attendee under the age of 18. I don't know that that's something that has been done in the past. I understand it's part of the policy, but I don't know that that's something that is realistic. I know that there's been school dances there before, there's been Girl Scout events, and Boy Scout events that are there before, and I don't know that there's ever been one adult for every child that's been in there. So while I do understand that chaperones are important, I did change that to the item that's right underneath it, and I did provide a link that is obviously you can't click on the link, it's a paper policy, but the person in charge of the event will be able to go to this website and see what the chaperone ratio is for the age of the children. Because if you have 6-month-old kids at an event, you need more chaperones than you would if you had 17-year-old children. So if this is something that we would like to keep in the policy as far as adults to children, I think that this would be better than what's already here. Number 10. You can see the part that has been redacted, and then I did put in here that any activity violates any of the above listed policies, or the event is not adequately supervised, the event may be suspended or terminated immediately at the sole discretion of the village. Should this occur, the lessee should make use of the privilege of future use of this item, which is just a little bit of rewording. Number 10. You go to section 12. At the bottom, I mentioned this at the last meeting, the $1 million and $2 million insurance policies. I asked, does this cover community organizations as well? If so, this is not the current practice that I'm aware of, and I think that it should be removed entirely. I know that it was put in there, and I know that we discussed that, and it was put in there in 2008, but if we're encouraging community people to use the community center, and they're a community organization, I don't think it's right for us to require that they have $1 million insurance policy. Because if something is going to happen in the community center, chances are it's going to fall under our insurance policy anyway. So I just think that that should be taken out. Section 13. I did add some language there just about who was eligible, and I didn't change too much, but I did put in here that all groups must refrain from discriminatory or inflammatory discussions regarding race, religion, politics, or class. That was not in the senior center policy or the community center policy. And I think that that's something that needs to be put in there. And then dissemination of said items is expressly prohibited as well. And I did keep in there that first priority in scheduling will go to the public Parks and Recs Committee programs, excuse me. And the last thing that I did change, and I discussed this last Tuesday, was the rental fees. Before it was $30 for a resident for $30 for 35 people or fewer, I think. And then for more than 35, it was 45, and I questioned how we check that if nobody's kind of doing any type of on-site. So I just chose, just kind of split in the middle, 35 and 40, $35. A resident pays $35, I kept the non-resident fee the same. So those are the changes that I made for this one.
Questions? I am over Parks and Recs, correct? I'm not the trustee over there, and I do have a committee, correct? Did I submit revisions last week? Yes, I did. None of the revisions that I passed out to everyone was even considered, and I'm having a hard time understanding why wasn't I even contacted or have my committee even have a say-so about any of this?
I think it's very clear, there's a difference between a committee and the policy that the board has passed. This policy goes back to 2008, when trustee Burgess brought it to the board, they reviewed it out at hands of the committee, and put it in the board.
Okay, so,
This is your board policy?
so I still submitted.
I don't understand.
Yes, I passed it out to everyone. And I submitted these revisions last week. So why wasn't my revisions, as if I am, since I am I am the chair of Parks and Recs, why wasn't any of my revisions considered?
When did you pass that out?
I passed them out to everyone last week.
Yes, he did. He gave, because I asked him about, he changed some things.
I thought that was
No.
the policy, because we were told on Tuesday that we were handed the actual policy. So I didn't know that those were revisions.
Yes.
I knew I thought that was a policy that was already in place, and I used that language to go off of and make this. Because if you remember on Tuesday, we were told we had the copies of the policies, and then based on what we had, which was that document you had right there, we had a discussion, and then I said that I was going to go back and make changes. So I did use, if those are your suggestions,
No.
I did use those.
Does the front desk have that concept that you have in front of you?
The
Did you
revisions?
revise that? Does the front desk have that?
No, this is what
Okay.
I prepared for, what I was told that we was gonna discuss for last week. So this is what I prepared for last week. I didn't change anything because I know this was up for discussion. But these were the revisions that I put on there, and I had a lockbox revision since it wasn't on there, but we just completely nixed that, and we're gonna have a committee member at all times let someone in and close the community center down. You know, I already put revisions in place, and it was not even considered. So I'm having a hard time understanding what is my role in this here.
Well, again, since I'm the one that kind of thoroughly explained to you kind of what my process was. Again, last Tuesday, we received that. I used that document to make this. Now, while I didn't put everything that were part of your suggestions, that was my basic document. And I said last Tuesday that I felt, and again, I'm one person, but that I felt that you have, in my opinion, for both, the senior committee and the Parks and Recs committee, that because we don't have full access to the police department anymore, I didn't think a lockbox was the greatest idea, and that is why I had suggested, not only last Tuesday, but prior meetings before that, that a committee member do a walkthrough. So, again, I apologize, I don't know that it was expressed that those were suggestions, I thought that those were the policies that were in place, and based on that document, that's how I created this.
No, these were revisions. These were
Did it say
something that
revisions?
wasn't, pardon me?
Did it say revisions? Because I really thought that was the policy.
No, the policy is completely separate. It's right up under it. It starts with the Edward Hazel Community Center. This is just on top of it.
I honestly thought that whoever was stapling it wrong. Because I didn't know why it was on top. But we did, as I remember last Tuesday, we did say that we were given a copy of the policies. And I don't recall at that time you saying that you had submitted any revisions.
I was asked to, meeting prior to that, mayor asked to, just like the senior committee submitted a revision to their policy, this was my time and I submitted a revision to our policy, to the community center policy.
They submitted their current policy. They had a revision that was done on the 30th of October, but what they submitted last week was their current policy. So when I received that, then I assumed that what you had submitted, because what I recall is that both committees were asked to submit their policies. I really apologize, I did not know.
No, that's the policy that has always been in place. That you received had, this was original. This hasn't, I haven't revised or anything on this.
Except for the tax document.
Except for this. This is replacing the numbers and is explaining the same thing that's on there, adding to but not taking away from much.
Okay, so, again, that's the document that I used to formulate this, but this is not the meeting where we're voting on it, and that's why I'm discussing it. So I brought these up to the board. You submitted suggestions, I submitted suggestions. I think that now would be the time to discuss that and see what we're gonna do, so that when we go to the 7 o'clock meeting, we know what we're gonna be voting on. Because from my understanding, the attorney said at one of the board meetings, I guess a month ago now, is that it's not the committee's responsibility to set policy. And as I said last Tuesday, I know that the mayor has stated that that's not how it has been in the past, but it's the board to submit policy. So if those were your suggestions, I see that you have some copies. We can discuss the differences right now. We can come up with what's going to be the final policy and have the board of trustees vote on what the final policy is.
I'll give copies, that way everyone can see. I mean, to present it to the board.
Comment, questions, whatever.
Trustee Casey,
If Trustee Jones is the head of the Parks and Recs Committee, why doesn't this just go to him and his committee and let them submit suggestions back to the board? They are the individuals that are responsible, they're volunteers. There's no reason for the board to get involved at this stage until they see what their committee comes up with. So we should not waste time comparing notes. Just submit it back to Trustee Jones and let him take it back to his committee.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Again, I'm going to state that the attorney said that the individual committee should not do the policy.
Correct.
And then my second point to that question is it not true that Trustee Jones just stated that his committee did review the policy, they submitted changes, which is what is being copied right now. So if we look at those changes and we look at these changes,
No,
and then we make...
I didn't say my committee. My committee hasn't had a chance to look at this yet.
Not this.
That, yes. The revisions, no.
Your committee did not look at the revisions that you submitted last week?
No. My meeting was after the fact.
Okay.
So, no, I didn't send it to my committee to go over it because we were discussing, I thought we were discussing I didn't know it was up for a vote. You made a suggestion, and I had no idea that this would even be on the agenda for this week. I mean, I just had no idea. So, I didn't have time to even bring it up to my committee with that. I brought it up as the mayor asked for revisions, or we were gonna discuss last week about revisions to Parks and Rec, but not to be voted on.
Trustee Myers?
On both of the provisions, it had the section 10 for the insurance. I'll take that back to section 12. When I had my retirement party, I called and I was informed by the insurance company that Village of Sauk Village is under a $1 million liability insurance that covers any function that happens in any building. I personally, had some of it to look at and remove, but that's what they told me, that our village insurance will cover it because we're under $1 million liability on any building, or if anybody uses it, I just want to bring that up, I did check on that, and that's been, well, a year and a half, 2 years ago. So, you know, you might want to think about it. And you did pass out a policy last week, or our last meeting.
So I'm looking at the two revisions, two different documents. And the only thing that I see different are the key and the lockbox. Items number 9 and 13 are just more profound in the policy that I submitted as far, because I took the language that was in the original policy, and item number 9, the only thing I changed was the 1 adult to 1 child, where that's not part of the changes that are here in the one that you submitted. So I would assume that this would just be in addition.
That was it, right?
What's already there. And then item number 13, it's just different language. The only thing that is different, which I agree with, is that all groups that are not part of Parks and Recreation may pay deposit fees. That's the only thing that's not in item number 13, that's probably the one that I submitted, and the one that you're submitting. And again, this wasn't intended to step on the rules of the chair or the Parks and Recs committee, but I thought that it was discussed that the individual committees should not be making policy. And I thought that it was discussed that the board of trustees would be voting on it. And I know that I said on Tuesday that I would be submitting revisions for this meeting. Well, I didn't say for this meeting. I said I was going to submit them. I didn't know that this was going to be on the board meeting agenda either. But I did say I would submit it by the weekend, so it's going to be in your packets. Because we don't have another meeting until January, and it's another time, and I don't know when anything's going to be on the agenda. So I wanted to make sure that it was submitted. But again, I sincerely apologize. I didn't mean to step on your toes, Trustee Jones, or the toes of the committee. But reality is, 9 and 13 look pretty similar. And without the addition of all groups that are not part of Parks and Recs that pay deposit fee, which is something that could be added, I think it should be added. And the only thing that's the discussion here is the key in the lockbox. Unless there's anything else that.
I think that last sentence is kind of vague. It's then subjective to who's determined, who's not part of the Parks and Recs.
Well, again, that's something that I think that needs to be ironed out in the policy, but I don't have anything in here that says that groups need to pay a deposit because it's already part of the policy. It says that all groups need to pay a deposit, and it says that all groups need to pay the $35 if they're residential and $100 if they're not. So I didn't add this additional language, but the only thing that I see as a real differing factor is the key in the lockbox versus a Parks and Recs committee member doing a walkthrough, which would eliminate picking up the key in the lockbox.
Yeah, again, the Parks and Recs used to make some pretty good money renting out the Parks and Recs. In fact, I think we need to look at what we've made in the last 3 or 4 years and what we've made so far this year. Because the rental of these policies, of the parks, the rentals of the buildings and stuff, it helped the Parks and Recs pay for all of our activities that they had. So, we need to continue, in my opinion, any organization, because it gets very vague, it's very subjective. At the beginning it says non-profit, private, non-discriminatory, non-political, non-religious groups. Okay, you spell out those groups at the top. The last sentence just says all groups that are not part of Parks and Recs must pay in deposit fee. And again, it gets very subjective. I think what it spells out in the original, which was going all the way back to 2008, makes it very clear. And it talks about these groups, and that they're eligible to rent the center. And I think we should leave it as they're still eligible to rent the center. Anyone can rent. And the village has always made some pretty good funds, which ended up helping Parks and Recs by renting this out. Trustee Marsh.
Okay, I'm a little confused. I don't really leave it. Anyway, the reason a few weeks back that you and I had one heck of a discussion out there is that you said that this board will not set policy procedure. It'll be up to the board that is in charge of the, such as, Mr. John, your committee, in a sense, okay? Such as Parks and Rec. So Parks and Rec will make the procedures according to what I understood from the last few meetings. And my suggestion was to the mayor and the board is that Parks and Rec committee will submit that procedure to the overall board for approval. That's the hang up that we're in. And now you're telling us that we are going to set the procedure. Is that what I'm understanding from you?
This is a village policy already. This policy goes back to 2008. Trustee Burgess was on the Parks and Recs. He removed this out of the Parks and Recs, came to the village board at multiple meetings, asking that the board set a policy. So we're not setting a policy for Parks and Recs. We are, I guess you could say, amending or updating a village policy that has already been in place since 2008.
Okay, so Parks and Rec should submit this through the committee and for further discussion and his review. So we shouldn't be thinking about voting on this.
Mr. Mayor,
Just here.
I'm sitting right here. First of all, back in 2008, we saw the rental agreement and we revised that rental agreement from the Parks and Rec, and we brought it to the board for them to review it. Not to pull it away and not be, and it just be, but we asked the board, back at that time, as you recall, and Trustee Williams also recalls, anything that we did, we've always brought it before the board. When I had contracts, when I signed contracts with the referees, we brought it before the board because it was a contract that the village was getting involved in. We did not mean for the board to dictate what Parks and Recs committee could do. What we're doing now is, that's what we're doing. We're dictating this committee, this particular committee that's being chaired by a trustee. Had that happened back then, if the village was going to dictate what we did back then they could run Parks and Recs. Only thing we were doing was we revised it, we brought it before the board, asked their comments on it, and asked them, was this okay? And our lawyers at that time, Wildman and Harold, Allen and Dixon. And we asked them, was this, and they helped us write that. But it was in no way to take the power away from Parks and Recs committee and give it to the board, because the board is not there every day. They're not involved in this. We put this up there so when someone wants to come and rent, this is what we had in place. But now it's all changed to say that the board is going to be in charge of we're doing this, and the board is going to set policy, and the board that's not what it was intended for. It was intended as a courtesy to the board to let them know the changes that we were bringing about in the rental policy, but not have the board be in charge of renting and making procedures and making decisions for Parks and Recs at that time. Now, I don't know where the minutes, and I know someone brought some archives out about, yes, we did bring this up several times to iron it out, but in no way was it supposed to mean that we were going to be superseded or headed by the village to run Parks and Recs as far as the rental of the senior center. I think that if they want to make changes, they can do the same thing. Bring it before the board and let the board know what changes they're going to make, and at least listen to, the board can open and honest, the board can look at it and see what the changes they're trying to make and make their opinions on that. But to make that policy that this board is going to run the rental of Parks and Recs, or run, who rents out Parks and Recs, who rents out the community center, what groups? I don't think I think that's something that's why they have meetings once a month, that's why you have a chairman, that's why you have committees, that's why you have volunteers. If you're gonna micromanage that, then why do they have these meetings? Why do they come out? Because whatever thing that they sit and talk about at their at their Parks and Recs meetings, if we're going to second guess that and change that here at this meeting, then why are they coming out as volunteers to try to help out?
Trustee Burgess.
Yes.
There's, the submitted copy that I put, do you see the village board, individual trustees, corporate authorities, anything that would be synonymous with this board in this policy?
No, but you're asking this board to make a ruling on this. You're asking this board to make a ruling.
In the specific policy, it says that the Parks and Recs Committee will determine, they will set a calendar,
Okay,
they will determine who can rent,
okay,
and it several times in here.
okay.
It says,
Then why are we talking about this?
Let me explain that to you. Mike McGrath stated that the individual committees should not set policy. When you talk about policy, and you're talking about buildings, you're talking about structures. Structures that if they catch on fire, Trustee Jones and his committee is not going to put out fire. If something happens.
We're not either.
If something, like a village.
No, the village is not, the firemen will, we won't put it
Fire
out.
department, that is
Yes.
part of the village software.
Okay.
The village will put out the fire. If
Okay.
somebody slips and falls and they break a leg,
Okay.
they're not going to sue Trustee Jones or the Parks and Recs Committee. They're going to sue the village. It is our insurance policy that is up to this building, that building, the senior center, the fire, all these different buildings. It is the village's insurance and responsibility. That is why the Attorney McGrath said that the village should set policy. And again, if it's just because the committee or the chair is offended that I took initiative to do this, again, I sincerely apologize. But there was probably a total of 20 words that were omitted because of grammatical errors, and you can see what was added. The structure is no different. I didn't go through here and say, Rosie Williams will approve who can be in there, the corporate authority will approve. No. This is your basic language. Whether you submitted this in 2008 or whether anybody else did, this is your basic language. This is the language that was put in here at Parks and Recs. This is their basic language. All I did was add suggestions.
Okay,
But again, if
but
you want to
you're asking this board to vote on this.
because the actual policy, from what the attorney stated, needs to be voted on by the board.
Trustee Williams, how about if we do this? We all have what the Orange Review Committee came back with.
No, there was nothing.
I'm talking about what was presented for these, okay? How about if we turn these over to the committees, and let them come back with their suggestions, and we can remove Parks and Recs, we can remove the Veterans Memorial, and we can remove Senior Committee. They can review them, and they can come back with recommendations to the board. So then we can go ahead and move to what's important, and then vote on them.
Fine by me, but again,
Go ahead and move to what, Rick?
I just want to say in here that, because it's saying that you're saying the board is choosing who's going to be a part of this. Again, none of these policies that I submitted was major changes. This is all going off of what the committee submitted to me, and I pointed out the errors in their ways. You can't, it's irresponsible for you to expect somebody to have $1 million policy. Insurance policy. It's irresponsible for you to expect that for every child there's going to be an adult. There's things in here that I don't think were reviewed properly, which is why I suggested it. But again, they're not going to sue me individually either if they trip and fall over there. So this is a board decision, so I'm sure.
Yeah, I think we can come back to this in January on those three issues.
But I just want to get,
Send it back to the committees, because I think that's what I'm hearing is a lot of committees to review the potential changes, come back with their recommendations, we'll come back to the village board at committee meeting and review it, because everyone agrees that the committees should have input, is that correct? So, all right.
Just to put on record, Rose Langston is submitting her changes, and I was going to present them when we discussed that, but.
Let me go back and make sure you guys are too, so let them go back and review.
But I just want to get an understanding if, okay, Parks and Recs clearly understanding made a lot of money in the past. Some of the suggestions that was put in there could enable Parks and Recs from making money. Because it would be very hard, because most of my committee work. So to find someone during the daytime to show and to let someone in, to go and check on the facility, you may start losing money, because then it would come up to a point where I can't rent it out because there would be no one there to rent it out. So that's why I understand what you were saying. It would be good in the land of milk and honey, but it's just not the way people are. I mean, because a lot of people work, and to show it, and then you got different visions of what the community center should look like once it left, once the next person came in, next party came in. As of now, I've been the only one seeing it before and after. So there's no comparisons to say if one person is able to let this party in, but say I gotta go to work or I'm not gonna be here, now the second committee member gonna have to come in to close the community center down. You know, I just think that would be a loss. If it's been making money that way, we should try to structure it in the same manner that it was, at least in the same manner. I mean, that's a big change for a lot of people that rent on a yearly basis. They come, you know, I done heard people say, yeah, I rent every year. I mean, the lockbox is one thing, but it's still at the police station. So you can still relate to it, but to have someone come in at the same time, you know, I mean, just have that consideration when you know, when it's time to vote on this.
So is everyone agree we're going to pass this back to the committee, so we're going to come back with recommendations, we'll come back with the community center and senior center at our first meetings in January. Let's go ahead and move to the Rotundo. And I'll give trustee Williams have this out, trustee Burgess pass this out during the meeting.
Did everyone get a chance to read this, or do you need me to read this over? The one I just passed out? Mayor, do they need? I know the other one was that trustee Williams passed out. The reason why I didn't pass this out, because I passed out things in the past and they didn't make it to the particular boxes, so that's why I did this. Did anyone there need to go over this, or need me to read it, or can everyone have a chance to glance at this and look at it? Just asking a question.
I'm reviewing it right now, but if you want to start a conversation, I think.
No, my conversation was, I read yours. This is what I was going to say. I read yours policy, and it seemed like it was geared towards one item and one item only. And that was town hall meetings, and meetings that were, as you stated, were not part of the village. Everything is part of the village. We have other events that we have here. We've had a South Suburban's Mayors and Managers Economic Development meeting here that was involved all the other outlining communities from South Suburban's and Mayors and Managers. We've had meetings here that we met with representatives, our state reps, and our state senators that came out to talk. We've had other meetings here. To say that we cannot, and we're just coming up with this for just this rotunda for just the town hall meetings, and that's what it looks like. I don't understand that. I've had these meetings for a year and a half and didn't have a problem. Now all of a sudden, And these meetings are taped, more ways than are put out there in the media. I came up with, I thought was a reasonable permitted use of this particular rotunda. And if you look at it, you can see that it includes all the entities. It includes all the entities that are taxing bodies in this village in case of an emergency, that we can use town hall if it is available at that time. And also, you know, we question about someone being in charge. I haven't had a problem in here in the year and a half that I've met here as far as anybody doing any detriment to this particular town hall. So if you take a minute and look at all the different aspects, I ask that we accept this one because it does include everything that I think that we need to look at, not just one particular item because of whatever I don't know. And that if we're going to vote on the rotunda, that we look at this policy and vote on that one.
Again, Trustee Burgess, I didn't single out just you for the town hall meetings. I also said the mayor should not be here. And again, I said, both of you have said it's not political. It is. The conversation, whether it comes out of your individual mouth or the conversation that comes out of the audience's mouth is defamatory to other people on the board. That's where I have a problem with it. I do think that this policy, similar to the suggestions that Trustee Jones submitted, where I felt that they were not as in-depth, the policy that I submitted is not as in-depth. The policy that you just submitted really does iron out, and it adds more community consolidated school district 168, all of our taxing bodies. That's more in-depth. I agree with that. I do have a couple questions about it, like the debates at the senior center, or the senior committee normally has the debates here for the election, and you put in here about no debates. So that would be something that would be a change. But
If you look at the last sentence on the back page, it said, any other uses. It says, any other uses will require the approval of the corporate authorities. So if the debates, as any other uses is not in here, quite naturally, we would take a vote whether or not we're going to have the debates, that we're going to have the debates for the elections that come up, that would fall under that category.
this is saying that you can't have it.
No, it says any other uses.
Other would be something that, in my opinion, that would be not already prohibited. But if removing that,
No, you stated that the debates are not spelled out in here, but it isn't. You're absolutely right. It's not spelled out in either one of these. There's nothing in there. That's why that last sentence was put in there, that any other uses will require the approval of the corporate authorities.
so you're saying that.
Hang on, real quick, if you don't mind. This is saying something twice. Because if you go back to the very first page, talks about special events hosted by the village or Sauk Village, which are approved by the board of trustees for all residents. So you're saying that any special events need to be approved by the board.
Mayor,
But
but you just read that. It says special events hosted by the village of Sauk Village. The debate is hosted by the village of Sauk Village.
Okay, but we say special events, so.
That's a special event. You don't have that but once every 2 years.
Okay, well, hang on. You have a special event. You have trustee Tate brings someone in for the homeowners and has a special event where people can come and look for ways to refinance their homes. Are you saying that he would have to come before the village board and ask for approval?
That's part of his committee.
But you just said special events.
I also stated
hosted by the
that,
village.
trustees committees can meet. That's part of his committee. He had a special event, part of housing, where he had people come in and talk about financing. That's part of his committee. He has the right to do that. That falls under his committee heading, the title. he had an event, he had a seminar where they could come, that fell under the part of his committee as committee chair for the housing committee.
I mean, I see a lot of things that are going back and forth.
What's going back and forth, man?
Here it says, no federal, state, or local political parties or organizations may use the village hall rotunda.
Absolutely.
So-
If you just got to say it's not gonna be political, you just, the reason that you have it is,
But again, I see things double. It says here on the back page that it includes organizations, right?
it said no federal or local parties or organizations may use the
Or
rotunda.
organizations. Not
Organizations.
But then up here in the front.
Political parties or organizations, yes.
Or organizations.
Yes.
Up here, you're talking about homeowners associations.
Yes.
And then Sauk
Yes.
organizations.
They've been meeting here since before we've had this place.
I'm not talking about one, I'm just-
And they're attacking,
I'm just asking, is a homeowners association an organization?
yes it is.
So that.
And you have, pardon me?
Here we say homeowner association can use it, but back here we say no organizations may use the village hall rotunda.
And what did I say about the homeowners association? What did it say? Homeowners association are domiciled within the village of Sauk Village. In other words, they've always, they are part of the village.
Comment.
Trustee.
I think people are misreading the second page. It says no federal, state, or local political parties or organizations. The emphasis on political parties. That's what the emphasis is. It's not on organizations. It says no federal, state, or local political parties or organizations. The subject is political parties. It is not organizations.
So question. First page says federal, state, county, and local elected representatives can use it. So if the, what was that called, Democratic, South Suburban Democratic Women, whatever, or whatever that's called. So let's say that they wanted to, Robin Kelly, who is a, Robin Kelly wanted to host something here as part of a town hall forum, which is approved on the first page, but because she's being presented by the South Suburban Democratic Women's Association, who is an organization, they would not be able to present her here because it's a local political organization?
If they were, if Robin Kelly, Congresswoman Robin Kelly, wanted to meet here, yes, she could meet here. She is a elected official. If an organization, and the reason for them being here is to raise money or to talk about her running again, that's a political activity, and no, that wouldn't be part of
What
this.
I'm saying is that they hold meetings.
Okay.
They hold meetings, and if they were having a public forum for her,
And what would be the topic if they're having it for her?
whatever she's presenting.
If
Not-
she-
Not as a fundraiser, not as a campaigning, if they're working in conjunction with something. let's
Okay.
say, domestic violence or whatever.
Okay.
If they're headlining the event, so they wouldn't be able to be here?
I didn't, I said a political party. If they're going to,
Democratic women, Democratic
okay, if
women.
they're, and we would have to find what their purpose. If their purpose is to present something to this village that is going to help this village out, then quite naturally, yes, yes, they would. But if they're here solely because that Robert Kelly's here and they're trying to pass the word that she's running for office, then that's a political agenda. No, they wouldn't be. If they're going to come here and announce that we need your vote, we need your contribution, we need your support to put Robert Kelly back in office in this rotunda, no.
Well, that's part of the statute, I understand that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that the language is different. And I go back to this last sentence that you had here, because I'm assuming that would be one of those situations where.
Then that's why I put that in there.
So this sentence should say something.
It says what it says. I mean, it says all of them were required to approve, which it should be.
Okay, but I guess what you and I are different about is the word other. Because to me, other means not already listed. If you have three things, car, boat, train, other would be something that's not a car, boat, or
Absolutely.
Okay, so what you're saying is, we go back to debates. The debate is listed in here as something that you cannot do. Something that would be other would be a bake sale.
Okay.
Because it's different. So are you saying?
You do understand the amendment, right? Okay, so if you have something stated that you're not gonna do this, but you amend that, that's what that last statement meant. That you could at any time amend.
I'm asking you, I'm suggesting that we change this sentence currently because other means something that is not already listed.
So what you wanna change it to?
We
Okay.
can use your terminology of amendment.
Amend, yeah,
Right
you can,
now, so that when we vote on this policy, we won't have to come back. and-
okay, yeah, if you wanna put the word that it can't be amended.
No, what I'm saying is the sentence should read something to the effect of any items in this policy, included or not included, can be discussed further with the board for approval. Your sentence, you are showing discrepancies in your policy, that's all I'm saying. I'm not negating it. I think because I'm making a suggestion, because you think that this is about the town hall meetings, it's only the town hall meetings, and God
It
save the
is.
town hall meetings, it's not.
Okay.
But because that's what you think,
Okay.
you're not understanding that I'm making a suggestion. I already told you that I think that your policy is more stringent. It's got more meat than the one I submitted. I've already given you those prompts. This isn't a personal thing, trust me, Ernest. What I'm saying is that you have discrepancies. And when you have discrepancies in policies, you have the ability to somebody to come in and point out the
Okay.
loopholes,
All right.
and then they'll be able to do what they want to do.
So you want to put it in that we can at any time amend? Is that what you're basically saying? Anything that's not spelled out in here can be amended by the vote of the corporate authorities?
No.
No, it's not what I want. What I'm saying, I mean, it's, I'm a person, what I'm suggesting is, there needs to be language that says, if an item, if you want to keep the word debates in here specifically, because that was my first topic, because the senior committee does that. It's saying that you cannot do this. The debates cannot be done. You're saying that this sentence combats that. I disagree. Because if I didn't want, as a citizen, if I didn't want the debate to be here, I would come back and say, according to your policy, it says you can't do it. Other means something that's not already listed. What I'm saying is you may want to rethink the structure of that sentence. And you may want to consider changing the structure of organization in this, no federal, state, or local political parties or organizations. Because one could read it as Trustee Tate said, that this is no federal, state, or local political parties, or no local, federal, state, or political organizations. The words parties and organizations could be used synonymous, or they could stand on their own. A political party, Democrat, Independent, Republican, Green Party, Tea Party, boom. Democratic Women of South Suburbs, that's an organization. That's not a political party, it's an organization. So you can take those words and use them synonymously, which is what I think Trustee Tate is saying, was how the intended manner of this. Or you can take it and realize they're two totally different things, and depending on how you want to read it. All I'm saying is to structure the sentence better. Because if you have somebody who's in opposition, they will be able to come at you with your policy and say, you can't do this because it's in your policy. That's all I'm saying.
I got a question here too. On the second page, it says, no religious services may be held in the village hall or ton except for invocations and benedictions during meetings and services. You know, all through the policy, it talks about schools, homeowners, it mentions schools, homeowner association, elected officials. But what happens if the ministerial association of Sauk Village, who serves the residents of Sauk Village, want to come here and have a meeting, or even a time where they want to try to bring the village together? You know, we've heard lately, this last year, the church is holding out a point for prayer and meeting throughout the community for prayer to bring unity back. You know, we talk about a homeowner association is domiciled in the village of Sauk Village. I'll tell you, we've got a lot more churches in Sauk Village than we do homeowner associations.
Mr. Mayor, first of all, it said services. It didn't say activities or fellowship. If the religious group want to come here and, like you stated before, and try to bring the village together, that's one thing. That's not a religious service. If you're gonna have a service here, that's what that means, service. That means this particular Baptist, whatever denomination, I'm saying that they cannot have a service. Now, if they wanna have a come together, a try to bring the community together, that's not what that is. Don't mistake that. It's not we all know what service is.
It says no religious service at the very beginning, and then at the end it says only during invocation or benediction.
Which means that
during
you,
meeting or service.
and that instead of saying prayer, Mayor, instead of saying prayer, we say prayer, you can say prayer at the beginning or at the end, I'm sorry, at the beginning or the end of a particular meeting. We've done that before. But to have a service and to have the people of the village come and be part of a particular service, that's why that's not there. Because if we, like you just stated, we got 12 churches here. Then it means we'll have service here every Sunday from 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night if everybody wanted to come and have service.
But based on the logic that you presented last week.
Last week?
Last week.
Okay.
Based on the logic that you presented last week, if the members of those churches are residents of Sauk Village who pay taxes, then they should have the ability to use this building. So if every church in Sauk Village wanted to then hold their services here, then they should be able to. I disagree with that comment, but based on what you said last week and based on what you said earlier about this being a building for the taxpayers, then how can we stop that? Because they pay taxes and this is their building,
You know,
and this is the citizens of Sauk Village.
you know, trustee and mayor, I mean, we've been talking about this 25 minutes just about this particular thing. And when it came to the money, we just passed that by. Nobody really wanted to talk about the money. But now the use of this particular rotunda, we're going to go over every piece, every sentence, every word. It's spelled out. But Mayor, you're right. If you're saying that if you're a taxpayer and you want your church to have services here, that you're saying that they should be allowed to have services here because they are a taxpayer.
I'm not saying
That's what Trustee Williams just said.
What I'm saying is, everyone else has all the documents before they came to this board meeting. Tonight you presented this.
I presented this, and I told you why I presented it. And the other one,
No, what I'm saying, trustees, you presented this before.
so
I think a lot of these questions could have been answered if the board would receive this prior to that.
when could they be answered? When could they be answered? Because I didn't get this I didn't get my packet until Sunday. I was here last week. I was here.
So you had Monday and Tuesday.
Okay. Who was I going to, I mean, I did not put purposely, I stated at the beginning, I didn't put this in the mailbox because last time I put something in the mailbox, half the trustees said they didn't get it. So that's what I thought. We were here trying to discuss that. Now, if you're saying that we don't need to discuss it, we need to table this, then fine, I have no problem with that.
I'm
But-
not saying not discussing it. You were the one who brought up and discussed this for almost 20-some minutes.
Okay, well,
What
then-
I'm saying is, number one, there's discussion going back and forth off something that the village board here received after the meeting had already started.
Okay, then, and I'm
They
asking,
didn't have 2 days to review their packet, which
okay,
everyone else had
well
the
then,
opportunity to.
the only thing I'm saying is, why are we worried about the religious, the use of this rotunda is supposed to be, I don't understand why we have to change it. Why is there a need to change? But I did put some things in here. If we wanted to be specific, that's what this was for. That we could be specific of how we utilize this space and how we utilize this rotunda. That's all, this was a guideline. I have no problem with how we would utilize it. I figured that the trustees, the elected officials were responsible enough to not just use this hall, but anything that's connected to the village of Sauk Village. That's what they were elected for. The elected officials should not be locked out of anything that's part of the village of Sauk Village. Because they were elected to be overseers, I'm sorry, not that word. We were elected to be people that would see, that make sure that this village is ran and that things were ran on the up and up. And they would be involved.
And the only way to do that is to allow meetings in this room?
No, I said, I don't see where it would be a problem to have a trustee to be in charge of, if they want to come in here, and if it's nothing that's going to be political or religious, because religion and state are supposed to be separate. If there's anything else, they want to come in here and utilize the room, this is their responsibility. We know who comes into to the village hall when you swipe this. When you swipe this, we know what time you came in and what time you left. And we have cameras to show. So you can't come and say, oh, it wasn't me. So if a trustee was well enough for a person to put them in and elect them, they should be trusted enough, trustee enough to come in and to utilize the space and have enough, forethought to make sure that it's not tore up, that it's not messed up. And if it is, then it can go. We can trace it back to whoever came in here. We can trace that back. If lights were let on, you can trace it back. If doors were left open, we can see who opened them. And if that person didn't close them, we can trace it back. That's modern technology.
Comment.
Trustee.
Too late. I agree with Trustee Williams. She said the last sentence on this document, second page of this document, says any other uses. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think your statement was that pertains to that hasn't been mentioned previously. Okay. Robin Kelly has not been mentioned in the earlier portion of this document. So therefore, Robin Kelly is one of those any other uses. I would think if there's a forum for battered women, displaced children, the homeless, they're not mentioned, therefore they fall under any other uses. Trustee Burgess, I support that this stays just like it is. Now, after last week, we were told that the statement was made that this room is overused, which I didn't understand. I still don't. I had a meeting here Wednesday, and I physically walked around, and I looked at every chair. None were broken. I looked at every seat that the audience sits in. I didn't find one that was broken, cushions caved in from people sitting in it the wrong way, overweight, whatever reason. I saw no physical damage to this room. Not saying that I'm the building inspector. So when you tell me something is overused, you gotta show me something that shows that that overuse is really abuse, is what it really is. So because people have meetings here, does not relate to it being overused. I think, I'm glad the police chief is standing back there. Hi, Chief. I think that this board, or people on this board, need to talk to the police chief about security. I gave you an example when I spoke last week. Talk to him about security. Talk to him about you being in a back room, conference room, in the back, and your doors are open. And you're worried about access. That's what you're worried about. Because someone said they're going to go in your mailbox, they're going to look at the copy machine, they're going to do all these sort of things. Let's talk about security. And that's the man that you can talk to. He can tell you how secure it is for everyone to be in the back and no one's up front. Does not make sense. And by the way, I know the answer to that, and I gave it to you last week. But I saw no evidence that this room was abused, overused, whatever the heck that means. And this is all nonsense to suddenly say we can't have meetings here. My meetings go along very well, and they're held in this room.
Trustee, if we go down to the third bullet point, or second from the bottom, I do have a question. It says the village board sponsor events, forums, and presentations where the village board may be present and each member is permitted to speak. Minutes are taken, however, no votes should be taken. Isn't it just isn't that special code? Which is pointed out in the first bullet point at the very top. Because if we're having a meeting where the trustees can talk, it'd be a special meeting if it's not a regular board meeting or committee meeting.
Okay, and what are you saying, Mayor?
No, I'm just wondering, shouldn't that be taken out because it's already covered in the very first bullet point?
Where you said village board sponsored events, forums and presentations where the village board may be present. Okay. Special meetings, the village, the corporate authorities are present, or else you can't have it.
But it says each member is permitted to speak, minutes are taken, however, no vote should be taken. You're having a special meeting, you're having minutes taken. What are the meetings we have with minutes taken?
What village board sponsored event would take minutes and who does the minutes?
Right.
And
And
members may or may not be present. It's kind of confusing.
yeah, unless it's a regular board meeting, committee meeting, or special meeting, what other meetings would we have that would require minutes to be taken, village board members to be able to speak, but no votes taken?
Okay. I'll give you one example where there were minutes taken, and it was a village-sponsored event, the water forum.
Special meeting.
That was a special meeting, no, the first one said corporate, village, a regular schedule,
And special meetings.
but that wasn't a special meeting, that was not a, where the village trustees had to be there. That was just something that was put on by the village, and Jim Zarnik came and gave us a synopsis of what we could expect as far as we went this way with water up that way. That was another type of town hall meeting, but minutes were taken at that meeting. And it was recorded.
You're referring to village board sponsored events.
I said, right, that was his village board sponsored event.
Because the only time the clerk, if you're talking about the village clerk taking minutes in this section here, the only time the village clerk takes minutes is if you have an actual meeting such as a board committee or special meeting where a quorum is present.
Also, election. When we have the election and we have our electoral board, that's a village-sponsored event. And no, you're right, the village clerk doesn't take minutes. We have a stenographer that takes the minutes of that particular event. That is a village-sponsored event. That was the electoral board. That's when we have the election. Okay, the court, but that's still a village-sponsored event because we had to have it because we had someone that questioned the particular.
There is a vote taken at that too.
Okay, but the corporate authorities don't have to be there. As a matter of fact, if the corporate authorities are ones that are being challenged, they're not up here, they're down there. But that still is a village-sponsored event, and minutes are taken by a stenographer.
And minutes taken at a forum, like the
Yep.
forum?
There was minutes taken at the town hall, at the forum for the water. Yes, it was.
As a special meeting, yes, because a quorum is present. I think it's just a little confusing when you say minutes are taken.
Are you referring to the section, like committee meetings, if a committee meeting would be here?
No, I'm referring to what it said. Village board sponsored events, forums and presentations. That was a presentation. The water was a presentation.
Where does our commissions fall under this policy where we have to have a ordinance review committee meeting? We have a presentation, I guess, someone coming in, want to go, something here. So you've got things like that with our commissions. Where does that fall under?
What commission? You mean our police and fire commission?
Police and fire commission?
Okay, the police and fire commission, they have cash cards.
No, I'm saying, where's it fall under this real time? Because if there's ever a police and fire commission that they have to hold a court or something like
The
that.
police and fire commission is sponsored by the village. The police and fire commission is sponsored by the village.
So,
I'm just asking, where's it at?
That doesn't have to be, it states that,
So we use police and fire commission, we use ordinance review committee, I'm sorry, not ordinance review, I'm talking about zoning board of commissioners. We have a housing commission, public relations commission. Where does the commissions fall under this?
anything that's sponsored by the,
Question.
Hang on. Look at the trust.
okay, as I stated before, anything that's sponsored by the village can have a meeting here in the village hall. We've done it before. I don't know where the police commission would have it unless they're actually having people parade to line up to apply for a position. But if that needs be, that needs be. We've had meetings for less than that. But if the police and fire commission need to use this room for something, I'm sure that they have a brain enough to know that they need to utilize this large room for whatever. Usually they meet inside the meeting halls, but if they need to use this room, it shouldn't be a problem with them using this room.
Again, we use police and fire commission, but again, we talk about the zoning board of appeals.
The zoning board meets in here, don't
Right, that's right.
Okay, yeah.
Are they still covered?
they? Yes, yes. They're a village sponsored
Can you
event.
point out where it says that they're
I-
covered?
Well, I think that part of.
Special events hosted by the village of Sauk Village, which are approved by the village board of trustees and all residents. That's a special event. That's permitted use. They don't meet on a regular basis. The zoning board, I don't know the last time they met, but they are part of a special event hosted by the village of Sauk Village. And they've already been approved because they are the zoning board of Sauk Village. So when they need to meet in here, they fall under that umbrella.
I'm just wondering if there needs to be a separate bullet point, because we talk about regular scheduled special meetings, we talk about corporate authorities, but should there be something about regular special call meetings of Sauk Village commissions? Because we talk about the corporate authority, but we need
Okay.
corporate commissions.
If you have a emergency meeting, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying regular or scheduled, just like you have up here for corporate authorities,
Yes.
but have another bullet point that talks about
Special,
meetings of
special
Sauk Village
events.
commissions.
Special events, that would be under special event.
I still have a question.
Trustee Tate.
It seems like the objections are coming from what Trustee Williams said and what you're saying. Can you guys give Trustee Burgess whatever input you want, have him to look at it, or do whatever he's gonna do, and table this whole issue, and we can address it later, because if you gotta go through and say, is this organization there? No, it's not there. How about this organization? It's childish, it's petty. Give him your suggestions of what you think should be included, and let's table the whole matter.
And I thought that's what we were doing, was giving suggestions.
He's not a secretary, he's not writing all of this down. Just write down and give him what you want.
I wrote down suggestions during the last organization, but I mean, I thought that's what we were doing. But
No, the mayor didn't want to table this. I asked that too, and he said he wants to, let's move on with this.
I said, let's move on.
Oh, okay.
Review the policy.
Okay.
And again,
Would you like to table it, Mayor? I would have no problem with tabling it, coming back the next meeting and bringing back the suggestions. If after the meeting, if you just doing the time in between now and time the regular scheduled meeting is over with, if you have a special, whatever topic that you feel is not on this, and I thought it was pretty well spelled out. But if you want to include that, I have no problem with doing that, and I can rewrite it and bring it back at the next scheduled committee meeting, which will be the first meeting in June and January, and we can discuss that and move forward.
so if any trustees have anything, with the village clerk, if you just want to say directly to the trustee.
Well, yeah, they can send it to the village clerk, and then I'm sure the village clerk can forward it to me, and I can work on it. I appreciate it if I get it.
Usually they can send it to you, just don't start a team conversation.
Right, and I would have no problem. Please get it to me before Christmas.
I just have two things. Number one, I know it was stated, that Robin Kelly would be considered other. Last time I checked, she's the U.S. Congresswoman with all the federal. Your second federal state would be from county and local elected representatives. Robin Kelly would be under that.
I didn't say that.
I understand that, but since it was stated and put on the record, I just want to say that if we're saying, because we're not specifically naming elected officials, which was what Trustee Tate said, because Robin Kelly would be considered an other, and since her name wasn't in here, that was something to discuss. You may want to get a list of all federal, state, county, local elected officials. Number one. Number two, if you're looking at prohibited uses, again, I'm gonna go back to the sentence, local parties or organizations. If you could clarify more, if this word organizations is in relation to synonymous with party. Because if you're saying that it's no federal, state, or local organizations can meet here, that's one thing. If I have Dog Catchers of America, which is an organization, and wants to meet here, that's something different. You don't stress anything in here, and you also have the others. Anything else that's not in here would be considered other. So if somebody wanted to host a movie night in here as a citizen, these are things I think you should put in here about individual residents, not being able to have permitted use of this facility. That's what I'm saying. I agree, this is a good start. Again, this is what we already have though. This is basically following state statute. This is basically following what you can and cannot do in a governmental building anyway, which is again against what I didn't think that this should be opened up for as many reasons as this is. But a policy, once it's put into place, I would like to see that there's no loopholes, there's no any way that you can get around it, because unless you have something in here about individual citizens, I'm going to stress that point you made last week, and I'm going to stress that point you made this week, that as a tax-paying citizen, if I want to hold a movie night in here for my bridesmaids, I'm going to tell you how I can do it with this policy. And as of right now, I can't, because the policy's not strong enough. So all I'm saying is, put some more teeth in it.
Trustee, if you want to know the truth of the matter, and this is the way I feel, and this is what I said last week, you're a trustee. You were elected as a trustee by the people of the village. If you feel that you want to have a movie night for your bridesmaid or whatever here in this village, and you want to utilize it for that reason, me, myself, I have no problem with it. Because you, listen to me, I have no problem with it because that's what you chose to do with it. You're a trustee, you have access to this building. And if you want to do that, that's on you. I have no problem. I'm not going to sit up and tell you that you can't do that for whatever reason.
You don't think that's abuse of power?
I didn't say abuse.
I have the ability to come to the building versus.
I didn't say abuse of power. I said that's what you felt like that you wanted to do.
Joe citizen in the audience who is also a tax-paying citizen, but does not have a gas card, and if they wanted to do the same thing, they wouldn't be able to because.
No, I didn't. I said that that's what you. I am not going to sit here and try to designate who can and cannot. If a person, if you put a person, if you notice in my policy, I tried to include, but now we're going to split hairs. Okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to make sure that I get all those split hairs included in this. I'm going to make sure that I get those split hairs included in this. But the only thing I'm saying is this. I mean, if you're trying to designate or you're trying to limit who it is that's going to use it, then, I mean, we're looking at, I mean, we can sit here and talk all day long who can and cannot use this. This all came about for whatever reason, I don't know. I didn't see anything wrong with how this village rotunda was being used. I didn't see any abuse of power or any overuse. I came in here and when I come up here all the time, I don't see anybody in here half the time. But that was neither here nor there. Only thing I'm saying is I will go back. I will try to make sure that I include everything that we talked about tonight, bring back a policy, hopefully that we don't keep going back and forth, and we can vote on that, or we can discuss it, and we can move on with that. Because I can sit here all day long, you can sit here all day long, the mayor can sit here all day long and say, what if, what if, what if.
Trustee Mayor.
I have one question. You added Stinger School District 194, Sandwich School District 172, and that's part of it. It's not part of the Community School District, that's part of it. Why Stinger and
Staker School District 194 encompasses Deer Creek, which is part of Sauk Village.
And District
172 Sandwich is Linwood. And there's also Linway, which is part of Sauk Village.
Hey, one thing too, when you go back and look at this, trustee, under the political materials prohibited, on the second page, prohibited uses, I guess the question I would have is, how do we enforce that? We're talking about not being able to wear political buttons, political information. I mean, I'm not looking for an answer to that.
No, but we did have that. That came about.
No, I know How
do,
does a village enforce?
we treat a person with dignity and respect. We ask the person to please take off your button and please do not pass out political literature in the village.
And if they refuse?
If they refuse to do it, you know, we just ask, we asked it a couple of times. If they refuse not to do it, I'm not for escorting them out because of that reason. I mean, that's a little too much. We can let them know that the policy states that you're not supposed to wear political buttons or pass out political paraphernalia. We ask that you not do that, just like we do with people with cell phones. We ask you to silence the cell phone. But if it runs, and if it rings where we're having a meeting, I'm not going to arrest you. I'm not going to have you escorted out. You're going to be the one that's going to look whatever, because you decided that you didn't want to comply to what it is. But I don't see us trying to make a big case that we're going to arrest or anything else like that, because I don't think that, we're going to treat people as an adult. Hopefully the rest of the adults that are sitting here will look at them and say, hey man, why don't you cut it out?
Just to go back and relook at this, if you would consider, number one, if we're not going to enforce anything, why do we?
What suggestion do you have, Mayor, that we, okay. I don't have any suggestions how we enforce it. I take people on the honor system. I take people as adults, as grown people, as mature adults. You're right. I don't have, and I didn't put anything in here to give someone, if they don't do this, this is what we're going to do. There is no penalty.
Everything else in here is pretty much enforceable. You can say who's going to use this room. You can, state the hours. You can do everything. I'm looking at one thing in here that, I'm just asking. And I'm not looking for an answer tonight. We'll go back and look at this.
And I
Is this something
really,
that we're going to enforce? If we're going to enforce it, then how do we enforce it? If we're not going to enforce it, does it really need part of this policy?
well, then that's anything. That's anything that you have in this, just like anything else. You have, there's nothing that states that you stop at that red light other than that light turn red. If you decide you want to go through, you have, there you go, if you get caught. But if you go through that light, you pay the price. Someone hits you or whatever the case may be. We're all going by the honor society that light says stop, and we hope that most people will adhere to that. Yes, there's always an exception to the rule. You're going to have somebody that goes through. That's when the fire department and the police department come out and scrape them up off the ground. But here we don't have that. I mean, if you don't want to adhere to it, I'm hoping that the people, which they have done it before, ask you to please cut your phone off. Please don't do this. Please don't wear that. Hopefully that we can go by, as I call it, the honor system, and treat adults as adults. If you start treating them as kids, they'll become kids.
All right. So whoever has any suggestions, any questions?
I got one question now. I just want one comment about it. I just feel that this policy is just another way to suppress the voices of the residents. It's just another, I mean, it's been open. There hasn't been a policy until now, but for some strange reason, we feel that we need to put things in place, and it seems like it's attacking more of the residents than anything.
There you go.
Comment. I just want to say that I believe it should be one for all. Whatever's good for somebody to do in the village that's a tax-paying body, it should be good for everybody that's in the village that's a tax-paying body. If you feel that your organization can use the rotunda for, you feel that what you have to present to the residents is good for the residents, everybody who live in the village that pay taxes, if they have something they want to present to the residents, they feel it's good for the residents, they should be able to use it too. And as far as churches is concerned, I'm very in favor of anything the church want to do. I do know about separating church and schools and municipalities, but for an example, we have Shine. That's a community organization where they're coming together to bring inspiration to the entire village. If there's a situation where on that day it's going to be a rain or a thunderstorm and they can't have it there, they're not having a service per se, but they should be able to use the rotunda. There are churches here in the village and they bring community involvement and community inspiration. That's not a service. I don't think you can say that no church can come in here and do anything but just have an invocation or a benediction, because there are other things the churches can do. Chaplains can come and pray. If there's a crisis out here, we've had people that have been shot before. Sometimes families are grieving. If there's a crisis, where ministers will talk to families or anything like that, or now we should be available for them, because those families are probably paying taxes if they're homeowners as well. Also, I feel that when we have meetings here, like we've been a satellite for State Rep LG Sims, he was a satellite here, when he had his program, then we had the resource fair here a couple weeks ago. All of those things, you can't list them all one by one, but they were sponsored by the village. So if you're gonna let one organization come in here and have their meet the mayor or town hall or whatever they're gonna have, that they feel is benefiting all the residents, then any resident that feel that what they have is benefiting the residents, how you gonna stop any of them from doing it? Either let them all do it, or then we have it tailored where nobody can do it.
Before the ordinance to allow participation at board meetings by use of electronic devices. That chance to review this one?
Email to everybody, because there was,
Can't hear you.
It was emailed to everyone because the ordinance review committee had to see it yesterday.
Well, I didn't print that one out, I didn't.
I didn't get the email.
You guys don't get your email.
I know I didn't get the email. I'm just being honest with you.
You won't have to, but you might. I'm gonna send an email tonight to every board member, and I want everybody to respond whether or not you got your email. Because every time certain people send things out, they don't get the email. Would you mind making a copy? Okay, well, the email, I'll tell you right now, because
As part of that too, I know on the budget finance committee that it was discussed that, Mr. Fairman reached out to Gerald Pike to make sure that he contacted each trustee, make sure that they were not in working order, or if they were in working order, and so I understand that did occur, and there was,
Did not occur.
I'm emailing, I have my.
oh, I wasn't sure, because I thought last time I checked, there were two trustees that had a problem with trustee Myers and trustee Tate, and I was told the last budget finance committee that both of those trustees were.
Whoever told you that did not tell you the truth.
Okay, so I'm asking again, if we need to have Mr. Pike put something in writing, if we need to have him come here and do a presentation, whatever, it needs to be stated that the trustees have their emails, because everything is, we want everything in writing, we want everything listed, we want everything itemized out, and the best way to do that is electronic email. That's why I submitted the policies through email. So I know Trustee Burgess has stated in the past, he's concerned about people going into their lines and taking things out. You can't take something out of somebody's personal meeting. And that's why I do everything. So I guess we're getting the copies of it now.
Yes.
If I may have a comment, no, Gerald has not done this since we talked about it. Trustee Tracy is correct. However, he has done that in the past with Trustee Tate. He came and checked with several people. Maybe there's some problems with our equipment, and he's been talking to me about looking at that again.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Myers.
he's contacted me, and I've set up a time to meet with the gentleman this week to look at, well, I think it's just probably just a error in the code that, but he has contacted me. I have not worked with him yet on the phone, but he has contacted me.
I don't know my email has it. It's on my email has it.
And you could read it, anyone discuss all the consent stuff, otherwise, we'll go over it.
Well, basically, it just states that any member of the village may attend any open or closed meeting of the village via electronic means such as by telephone, video, or internet connection, provided that such attendance is in compliance with the rules and any applicable laws. Prerequisites, a member of the village may attend the meeting electronically if the member meets the following conditions. Members should notify the clerk at least 24 hours before the meeting unless impractical, so that necessary communication is can be arranged. The member must assert one of the following three reasons why he or she is unable to physically attend the meeting. That would be member cannot attend because of child care, health condition, personal illness, or disability. The member cannot attend because of employment purposes or business of the village, or the member cannot attend because of a family or other emergency. clerk, authorization to participate. The clerk, after receiving the electronic attendance request, shall inform the corporate authority of the request electronic attendance. After establishing that there is a quorum, physically present at the meeting where a member of the village desires to attend electronically, the presiding officer shall state, a notice was received by a member of the village in accordance with these rules. The member will be deemed authorized to attend the meeting electronically. Adequate equipment required. The member participating electronically and other members of the village must be able to communicate effectively, and members of the audience must be able to hear all communications at the meeting site. Minutes. Any member attending electronically shall be considered an off-site attendee and counted as present electronically for that meeting if the member is allowed to attend. The meeting minutes shall also reflect and state specifically whether each member is physically present or present by electronic means. Rights of the remote member. A member permitted to attend electronically will be able to express his or her comments during the meeting and participate in the same capacity as those members physically present, subject to all general meeting guidelines and procedures previously adopted and adhered to. The member attending electronically shall be heard, considered, and counted as to any vote taken. Accordingly, the name of any member attending electronically shall be called during any vote taken and his or her vote counted and recorded by the clerk and placed in the minutes for the corresponding meeting. A member attending electronically may leave a meeting and return as in the case of any member, provided the member attending electronically shall announce his or her leaving and returning. Presiding officer. If the village president is attending a meeting electronically, another member of the board physically present at the meeting site shall be appointed the presiding officer for that meeting via motion and approval of the board. Committees, boards, and commissions. These rules shall apply to all committees, boards, and commissions established by the authority of the village. If any section, section 3, if any section, paragraph, clause, or provision of this ordinance shall be invalid, the invalidity thereof does not affect any of the other provisions of the section. Section 4, all ordinances with conflict herein are hereby repealed to the extent of such a conflict. Section 5, the ordinance shall be in full force and effect from the form and after the passage of publication as provided by law, and then it's just got to be adopted, all that stuff.
Question, how does this relate to executive meetings?
Anybody need?
I didn't hear that answer.
Anybody, any meeting that we would have, the member would be able to participate electronically. Like similarly, we've had attorneys call in during during executive session meetings because they're stuck in traffic or whatever reason, so that they're still a part of the meeting, they're still able to provide information and answer questions and things like that, but because they're not physically present, the clerk states that they're on the phone.
So you can attend an executive session through electronics? Okay. Then I have some more questions.
I'm sorry.
No, my next question, does a quorum have to be present before the election? In other words, we have to have 3 or more people here in person in order to the meeting to be held, and then that 4th person would have to be the electronic person coming from electronics?
That's the quorum, if I remember right first. I think that's what she read.
So it has to be a
After
quorum.
establishing, this is under C, number 2. After establishing,
A quorum is physically present.
thank you.
So yeah, you have to have
Desires
your
electronic.
quorum present, and then the additional person will be able to be present.
And also,
You cannot make your quorum by talking on the phone.
okay, and then also with the electronic, does that person who's meeting electronically still get paid as if they were here?
Yes, because they're part of the meeting. They just show under the minutes that they attended electronically.
And I think in the ordinance, it does state that the village clerk, when she does those minutes, it would have to state that, trustee, blah, 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 were physically present. Trustee or mayor, whoever, was present electronically. But it does state in the ordinance that it has to be specified who was here physically and who wasn't.
And who is going to okay that person to participate?
That is part of, they have to give 24 hours notice to the meeting. Authorization is under C also. Let's see, oh no, it's under B, where it talks about they have to notify the village clerk 24 hours in advance. Members should assure one of the following 3 reasons why they are unable to attend. It's either a member cannot attend because of child care, health conditions, personal illness, or disability. A member cannot attend because of employment purposes or business of the village, or a member cannot attend because of a family or other emergency. So if a trustee was calling in and said, calls the village clerk 24 hours in advance, says, I'm unable to attend because I'm ill, or I have a family matter, the village clerk would come back and inform the chair, the mayor, that the trustee is not attending because of these reasons. So one of the things too is, after establishing, it talks about there's a quorum, the mayor or the chair, whoever's here, would inform the board why they're not at the meeting.
Okay, but my question, 24 hours before the meeting, if your job tells you you have to stay over, but you still want to participate in this meeting that day, that means you're not allowed to participate in this electronic meeting?
Should be able to.
It says unless impractical.
Unless impractical.
So that would be one of those situations where that would be impractical, because you didn't know that you were doing that.
But it says 24, okay, that's right. I mean, if I call and say, okay, I got to work overtime,
Right.
but I still want to participate.
The members should notify the clerk within 24 hours before a meeting unless impractical, so that necessary communications can be arranged. And then having the workplace would fall under section 2B. The member cannot attend because of employment purposes or business of the village. So it would be impractical for you to notify the clerk 24 hours ahead of time because you didn't know you had to stay late. And your reason for staying late at work would be a qualifying reason under 2B.
Okay, so, I mean, I'm just asking because, just like we, looking for loopholes, I may be somewhere that I just don't want to come, but I'll talk to you in the car when I'm wherever, and, so I'm just looking at how you have this worded. It says 24 hours, but because that's what my question was going to be, how do I know I'm going to be sick 24 hours out? Right, so that right.
You come home from work sick, and you're just like, I just can't make it, at least be on call.
But we have to have at least 3 people here in order to have a quorum. 3 people and the mayor.
What supporting documentation is required? Well, if I have to work late, what supporting documentation do you need to approve it? Oh, okay. Well, that's supporting documentation. Well, I wouldn't say that, but,
There's nothing in the ordinance that discusses supporting documentation.
If you're calling and saying you can't make it, that's good. Any questions on this one?
I do have a question, Mayor. What constitutes attendance? If I come 10 minutes before the meeting's over with, am I considered being in attendance for that meeting?
Here for the majority of the meeting, they're present.
No, I'm saying if I come 10 minutes before the meeting is over, am I?
You're here for the majority of the meeting, you're considered present. I mean,
If you're participating in the meeting, you're voting, you're here.
I'm saying I come 10 minutes before the meeting is over with, and because of whatever, and I get here at that time, I consider part of that meeting.
I guess the question is, if you're on your way here, because you have to work late, you're part of the calling in, and you say, Pat, would you call my phone, I'm listening, I'm on my way, and you're still participating in the meeting, and you end up walking in for 10 minutes. you're still
Right.
participating in the meetings.
Okay, so that's still part of the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That answer your question?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
So with the village clerk, would she be the one to have her phone open or whatever else you're gonna use?
that's what we've done in the past. Trustee Jones, we've actually worked out, like my cell phone is hooked up to a monitor, speakers. We've done it several times in the past, this isn't the first time. I'm not saying it's an ideal situation, but we're gonna have to, the reason for doing this now is so that we will be prepared with the problem of keeping with it, if and when it comes to pass. So I'd rather see that, supposedly that would be loud enough for even the audience to hear the call in person.
So,
Okay.
just, maybe not necessarily part of the ordinance, but since the village clerk is the person that we would have to notify within 24 hours, I would assume that then the village clerk would inform whatever elected official that this would be the time and the number to contact to be a part of the board meeting.
I've had people give me a number, they're out of town on business, and they've given me their cell phone number, and I told them to call in at 6:55, or I called them at 6:55, and I had it all hooked up right with me. So, it's a matter of working with me to make sure that you all are able to be present, and that the audience can hear it as well. It's something we need to work out.
Any questions? All right. We're a little late, so we'll go ahead and adjourn this part, and we'll be ready for the next one meeting. All right, so that's one motion to adjourn.
So,
Second. Stay on favor, say aye. All right, so we adjourn. All right, look, we have 2 minutes, so